This is the Prince Media. I am your host, Prince God's Power Joseph. Like, share and subscribe. Please subscribe so that you get our video anytime it is out. Thank you for...
Everywhere I go, people say, how did we get here? What happened? What is happening? Every place you go is getting better except Nigeria. So what is happening in Nigeria? What you're experiencing in this country is cumulative effect of leadership failure over the years. It is leadership over the years, which all of us are contributed to. No single person contributed to it. Everybody, because while the criminality and the bad governance were going on, we were celebrating. Every other country of the world resists bad governance. But in Nigeria, it's celebrated. It's only in Nigeria that you become governor, local government chairman, and people see you obviously doing what is wrong and continue to praise you and tell you, Your Excellency, you're the best thing that has happened to everybody, even when you're doing the wrong thing. It's only in Nigeria that you borrow, you don't have a house, you don't have anything, and you become governor. And suddenly you build big house, buy all the cars with their money, even invite them for Thanksgiving with their bishop and everybody. They are singing and dancing with you when they should call police because they know you stole their money. And that is why I say you don't need to celebrate. We have a country that is going through difficulty. No country in the world will not go through what we are going today. When you have over 100 million people living in poverty, the highest in anywhere in the surface of the earth. Nigeria have more people living in poverty than China and India combined. These two countries combined is 2.8 billion. We are 200 million. But we have more people living in poverty than two of them combined. Nigeria, as of yesterday, had 18.5 million children out of school, out of which 10 million are women. The list is long. Nigeria has the highest unemployment today that is known in the surface of the world. We have 35% unemployment. When combined with underemployment, it's about 55 to 60%, out of which majority, 60 to 70%, are people, young people in their productive age doing nothing. At an age that is very critical for human beings to do something, Nigerians are idle. They're not doing anything. At that particular age. Parents now pay for their children to go to school, only to come home and live with them, and they're feeding them and everything. At age, people are supposed to leave their house now. They are living in their house with their parents because they have nowhere to go to. They have no job. UK will have problem. Our drug prevalence today is 14.9%, when the global average is 5.8%. So we double the global average. And most of them are young people. Everything that is wrong, stress level is worse. Everything is going wrong. And nobody is seeing it. We are celebrating it. We're not doing anything. Rather, we're dancing. We're still enjoying when the country is sinking. Somebody mentioned about borrowing. Let me tell you, there's nothing wrong in borrowing. Absolutely nothing wrong. Every country of the world borrows money. Every country of the world borrows money. Every country. America is the biggest economy in the world. America owns almost 100% of her GDP as debt. China is the second biggest economy. It owns over 50% of her GDP as debt. Number 3 is Japan. Japan owns 230% of her GDP as debt. 230%. So as so many other countries, even Singapore that we celebrate owns 120% of its GDP. So if Singapore has 1 naira, they own 120, 1.1 naira, 20 kobo. Norway that has the biggest sovereign wealth fund of 1.4 trillion, still owes 50% of its GDP. What is wrong in borrowing is when you borrow for consumption. If you borrow for production, it helps your economy. And because we talked about borrowing, I will show you where borrowing has worked. Several countries of the world where borrowing has worked. It hasn't worked here because you borrowed for consumption. The consequence today is that Nigeria is spending 90% of its revenue to service debt. When the average revenue you need to service debt should not be more than 25% of your revenue. But Nigeria, because you borrow for consumption, it's like a human being. If you go to bank today and borrow money, in order to do and farm, do agriculture, do industry, do everything, you'll be able to pay back. But if you borrow it for burial, you will not pay back. You have a problem. If you borrow it for birthday party, you have a problem. If you borrow it for wine carrying, you have a problem. So Nigeria borrowed for picnic is for consumption. And that is why we're having problems. Serious problems. To the extent that we will not survive it. It is that bad. If you borrow it for production, it will be different. The first loan we borrowed was in 1964. When we borrowed money under Tafa Balawa, he borrowed $82 million to build Kainji Dam to generate 760 megawatts of electricity. 1964, September 64. If you read the letter of the borrowing, it said, I'm borrowing to build this facility in order to create an economic development of my country. And the World Bank replied him and said, we are supporting you because what you are doing will go a long way in development of your country. 58 years after, Kainji Dam is still standing. The one we borrowed today, where is the Kainji Dam? Because it was borrowed for consumption. When Obasanjo left government, his borrowing was every money we owed when Obasanjo left government was 3 trillion. Today, we are owing 58 trillion. Let me tell you a story. Let me tell you a story. Let me tell you a story. A story that ordinarily I don't want to tell, but I have to tell it to you. Because in Calabar, Cross River State used to own, I used to be in financial industry. All my life, I'm a trader. That's what I do. I'm a trader. And a finance person, and I have created wealth. All my life, I followed finance. In this state used to own a bank called Cooperative Bank. Which is closed down now. In 1990 or 1991, the biggest debtor in Cooperative Bank, who actually maybe his debt brought down Cooperative Bank, was given a doctorate degree by University of Calabar. That is Nigeria. And I'll stop it there. That is Nigeria. We're celebrating the wrong thing here. And it's time to tell you people, the young people who are following us politicians, you're hurting your future. Has nothing to do with any of us. This is a criminalized place. Unless you fight and take back your country, you're finished. Because we're all gone. We'll lead the better part of our life. I'm not looking for anything today. I have young ones like you who have left university and are working in their 30 and 29. So the young ones, take back your country. If you don't, it will consume you. There's nothing wrong in borrowing. But when you borrow for consumption, you're finished. I have borrowed for consumption. So today, the money Tafa Balawa borrowed in 1964, if you put it at value of money today, it's just about $1 billion. That is the value today. But today we are owing $120 billion. That's what the $58 million is. $120 billion. Imagine if Tafa Balawa, who built it then, I was able to generate about 1,000 megawatts of electricity. That we use one third of what we are owing today to generate the same power, we would have had 40,000 megawatts. Your country is generating only 4,000 megawatts of electricity. 4,000. For a country of 200 million people, 200 million, they are generating only 4,000. And it's supposed to be the biggest economy in Africa. The second biggest economy in Africa is South Africa. A population of 60 million, they are generating 54,000 megawatts. 50,000 more than the giant is generating and distributing. The third biggest economy is Egypt, 103 million, and they are generating 55,000 megawatts, 51,000 more than the giant is generating. What is even more? Egypt doubled their own power generation between 2015 and 2021 by spending just about $10 billion, which is below 10% of what we are owing today. But we are the giants. Everybody is dancing. My dear people, it will shock you. If I'm giving somebody, I'm giving a free hand, nobody will dance in this country for 5 years. The party is over. We must get serious. We must be a country. Because no, we're not getting there. Things are not moving. The consequence, like I said, is that we spend every money we earn now for debt servicing. First 5 months of last year, total earning of Nigeria as a country was 1,847 billion naira. We used 1,802 to service debt, 98%. Nothing was remaining. And we are dancing. So when I said there's no more music, it is now walk, 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 walk. We must fix the country. We must make the country work. And because we have a great country that can work. But Nigeria is not a productive country. It's a consumption country. Everybody is dancing and picnic at a time when the whole place is collapsing. And we must get it right. Countries after countries are doing better. For somebody who said about loan and borrowing, let me show you why I said there's nothing wrong in borrowing. Countries like us have borrowed and they've used it properly. I'm going to give you an example with a country, Bangladesh. Bangladesh is a poor country like Nigeria, like everything, I'm going to give you a country like Vietnam. I was in Bangladesh in 2010. In 2010, compared to Nigeria, Bangladesh economy is $115 billion GDP. 115. They were owing $45 billion. 35% of their GDP is in debt. What you used to measure a real value of a country is what you call per capita. So if you share the GDP with the population, Bangladesh as at that time was $747 per capita. In 2010, Nigeria, your own country, was then $375 billion GDP with a per capita of 2,250. So we are 3 times in terms of GDP with Bangladesh, 3 times per capita, and our debt was only $30 billion in 2010. Today, Bangladesh economy is $340 billion. So they've tripled. Their per capita is now 2,050. So they've tripled. Their debt equally went higher to about 110 billion. But because their economy, their GDP has grown much, the percentage in terms of that came down to about 32. But Nigeria is a different case. In Nigeria, our GDP, we borrowed more money. Our GDP today is 400 billion. Our per capita is now just 2,000. So we lost 11% of what we were in 2010. Our borrowing have moved from 30 billion to 120 billion. So we borrowed 3 times without anything to show for it. No growth, nothing added. Because it was consumed and it's for picnic. It was for consumption. If you go today everywhere, there's production, except in Nigeria. All they do is sharing. All we do is begging. Young people are not meant to beg. They are the geniuses that are creating businesses all over the world. And they have the talents here. And I will invest in them, and they will become the same thing. Their job is not to go and beg. But here, young people have turned into beggars. At an age, they should be very productive. That's not how a country functions. Look at Cross River State. Do you know what this country can do with its space? This is a state of almost 21,000 square kilometers of land. And I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're producing. Now, I want you to listen to me. Right? So, now you have a port. It's very important. It's very critical. That port is critical. You have everything, but the challenge is a crisis upon crisis. Nigeria is a country of 200 million people. Just to show you how bad it is. Let me compare Nigeria with Vietnam. Another country with huge population. Vietnam is a country of 100 million people. Nigeria resides on a square size of Nigeria is 900 and something thousand square kilometers. Vietnam is sitting on 300 and something thousand square kilometers. So Nigeria is 3 times the size of Vietnam in land space. In population, we are twice. But the total export of Nigeria, including the so-called oil that we celebrate, is just about 25 maximum to $30 billion a year. Vietnam, with a third of our land, half of our population, total export is $280 billion. So they export $250 billion more than we export. And this is what they produce locally. And we're celebrating. And what they're exporting is not something that we cannot do here. Vietnam exported last year clothing, just garments, worth of $32 billion. They exported shoes, footwear, $20-something billion. These are things we can do. They're not listen. I gave you an example of Bangladesh before. They exported $36 billion worth of textiles. I go to every state. I'm very sorry.